Hey everyone, and welcome to another video solution on the Python worksheets on the EdgeBam website. So in this section we're going to be focusing on the extension section, and this video is going to talk through how to approach question 1. And the way the extension section has been set up is to give you a bit more independence and to allow you to think through the things you need to do in order to get to the actual solution of what the question requires. So in this case, question 1 in the extension section reads, plot the data of the mass and their gravitational forces. So as a scatter plot or a line graph, and we've looked at this in question 5. So what this question essentially is talking about, if you bear with me one sec whilst I tidy up my screen, and this is something you should learn to do when you're coding, so to clear up your screen and get a clean workspace so that you can trace where your results are essentially at. There's a video that talks about it on the EdgeBam website. But back to the question. So essentially, question 1 in the extension section wants you to combine question 1 and question 5 in the previous section that talks about scenario application. So you can see the question is written in such a way that it doesn't give you a lot of information, and this is, like I said, to give you the freedom or the independence to think through the question and to think through what things you require in order to write the code. So in this case, what we are going to do is create firstly an array of the mass data. In this case, we can call it M, and we can say M equals to square brackets, and we can say, according to the table, 67, 168, 205, 131, 90, and 35. So this is what I'll call my mass data in the new data set I was given for the extension section. And similarly to the force, or in this case gravitational force data I was given, I can just simply make another array to store the data of my forces. And in Python, what you should do is learn to name arrays differently so that they don't clash. And essentially what would happen is that if I name this as a mass array like this here, essentially Python would read this and overwrite that. And because this array is below all of the plotting I've done for question 3 and 4 previously, all of this code wouldn't run because the data would be in the wrong position for Python to read it. So Python requires you to set up your data before you do any processing on it, not the other way around. So which is why you should, number 1, be careful in how you arrange things in your script, and also be careful in how you name things in your script as well. So which is why I've given them slightly different names so that I can know what is what. So in this case, back to the question. So my gravitational force data is 690, 1566, 231, 1362, 848, and 333. So this is my new mass data, and this is my new force data. And what it wants us to do is essentially plot the data that the scientists, or in this case the astronauts, gained from a previous visit to this planet, to this newly discovered planet, to sort of analyze the data and come up with some results. So question 1 just requires us to plot it as a scatter graph and as a line graph, as we can see in similarly in question 5. So all we need to do is use the matplotlib library, and in this case we've imported the library, as you can see at the top. Another thing from a point of efficiency I would like to note here is that if you know what your code looks like and it looks like something you've written before, you can just simply copy paste that code and change certain parts of it to fit the new section of the code you're trying to deal with. So because I'm plotting a graph in matplotlib and I have to plot it as a scatter and a line graph, I can simply go, first of all, to copy the section of the code that I've written before in question 5 that has to do with the scatter plot, and I can just simply copy it and paste it here. And what I can then do is change my X and Y data and remove this label, because I don't need the label, because I don't know what the relationship between my mass and forces in this case on this new planet. So what I can then do is remove the old X and Y data, and I can then put in my new mass and force data as my new X and Y data. In this case, my X is the mass data like we plotted before. So I'll type in M, then F. Then what I can then do is click run, and if we go into our plots area, we can see the new graph, or I can clear it for you to see again, just to be sure that it is the right one. And this is what I mean by like always tidying up your workspace before looking into your results. So I can clear that and run it again, and you can see the very last graph, which is this one, is related to my new data, where I have 1 2 3 4 5 6 data points. 1 2 3 4 5 6, and now I've plotted it as a scatter plot. So what I can then do is close all of this and clear all. So I can then copy and paste in a similar manner. I can copy and paste the section of my code that allows me to plot data as a line graph, basically joining the dots of the data points so that I can see what the profile is there. So essentially I would then go into this section and change everything. So because I don't know the relationship between my force and mass in this case, I would completely clear out the label, then put in my new data, so which is M in the x-axis and F. So I want to leave my labels the same thing because they have the same units. So what I can then do is run it, and you can see in this case the new data shows a strange relationship, but you can see, although it's here in the scatter plot, we can see that like it's somewhat of a straight line kind of relationship, because if you look at the data isn't ordered. And what I mean by ordered, it's not arranged in a nice format, which is why we were given that initial explanation in the extension, which reads, as an engineer or scientist, you always have to rearrange your data in a manner that makes sense so that you can explore the relationship between two things. By rearranging your data in a way that makes sense, it also allows us to present our data in a nice way, And this process of rearranging and displaying or plotting our data as graphs is known as data visualization, and it's something you hear a lot of in at work or at uni when you're doing things that involves you showing pictures of how or graphs of how things relate. So we can see, because our data is scattered in a scatter plot of this new data, we see that yes, oh, it's almost a straight line kind of thing. But when we join the points together, because our data is not ordered in any way, we can see that there is no sensible relationship at all. And this is why in the next part of the question, we've been asked to rearrange this data. And you can look at the solution to extension question 2 in this case rather, to see how to rearrange the data. Thank you for watching.